Okay, I keep being really weird in my introduction, so I'm just gonna skip the whole thing and I'm gonna get into it. So, for my author study, I am doing Scott Westerfeld. So, I'm gonna start off with a little background information about him before we jump into everything else. He was born on May 5th, 1963, in Dallas, Texas. He's got a bachelor's of philosophy from Vassar, and he lives alternately in New York City and Sydney, Australia, and that's because his wife is Australian, and he made it very, very clear on his blog that he does not like winter, and I don't blame him. Okay, so the reason why I picked Scott Westerfeld is because when I was younger, Uglies was my absolute favorite book. Like, nothing topped it. But the thing is that I only read the Uglies series. I never tried reading any of his other books. So I thought that this would be a good chance for me to explore those other things. He's also a pretty well-known YA author. I know that Dr. Jesse was talking about how his wife would sometimes teach Uglies in her classroom, and I know based on my research that there's a lot of other teachers out there doing the same thing because I found a lot of lesson plans on that book. Another thing about it is that his books are generally sci-fi, and so I thought that it'd be kind of nice to reach into that a little more because it seems like a lot of the texts that we read this semester were more of realistic fiction, and so I think that it's pretty important to dip your toes into other genres of stuff. So I wanted to branch out. I'm spending too much time with my plants. Anyway, so I read for this project Uglies, Leviathan, Afterworlds, Imposters, and Evolution's Darling. Okay, now 4 of the 5 of those are YA novels. I discovered a little bit too late that Evolution's Darling is on No Planet YA. Like, it took a long time for me to realize it, but it was also just because I was like how Jamie didn't notice the swear words that one time. That's what was going on. So I haven't been able to get my hands on another book because of the pandemic, so I only have 4 YA books to base this on. So anyway, Uglies is about a universe where when you turn 16, everyone undergoes a surgery to become beautiful, and then there's the girl whose friend runs away, and so the government kind of holds her hostage and is like, you have to go find your friend, otherwise you're not going to become pretty. And so Imposters is one of his most recent books, and that takes place in the same universe, spoiler alert, after that government gets overthrown. They call it the Mind Reign. So that was pretty cool because when I was in junior high, the Uglies series only had 4 books, and now he's like got a plan for another 4, and 2 of them have already been released. So that's pretty cool. Afterworlds is a book about a girl who decides to go to New York after graduation from high school and is going to be an author. She already has a book signed up to be published, and she has already been paid for a second book, so it's about her struggles trying to find inspiration and figure out how to adult, basically. So yeah, I'm not gonna go into about Evolution's Darling because it's not YA, but I thought I'd put it on the list anyway because I did finish it. Not that it counts for anything. Anyway, so with craft, one of the things I noticed, and the reason why it stuck out to me was because I didn't know what it meant, and I don't know if it's a common word or not, but he used the word storm, I don't know, in all of the books except for one that I read. And it's a whirlpool, in case you didn't know. Maybe I'm just dumb. I don't know. Anyway, so his characters are generally like pretty witty, but it's more of an internal wittiness, because even though most of his books are written in third person, you still kind of know what they're thinking. And a lot of times the characters can't really convey that wittiness or sarcasm properly to the other characters, which is pretty relatable for a lot of people, I feel like. So I really liked that. Another thing is that he uses a lot of parallelism in his books. So in Afterworlds, right, it alternates every other chapter between focusing on the girl who had gone to New York, and then the next chapter will be a chapter from the book that she wrote. And that book is about a girl who falls in love with the death god. And in the girl who went to New York story, she falls in love with another writer who happens to be a woman, and so it's kind of following like her path to figuring out her identity and whatnot. Most of his books generally revolve around one or two characters. So with themes, a lot of the time his books tend to deal with issues with confidence and self-acceptance and individuality, and it's very empowering stuff, because like with Uglies, you know, they're talking about like societal standards and what's pretty and what's not, and the main character of that book learns to accept herself for what she looks like and who she is, even though ultimately she undergoes a surgery, but that's spoilers. Sorry, you should read it anyway. Another thing is with Imposters, it's about individuality, because she's a twin who was raised to be a body double for her sister, and like she had a hidden identity, and so it was about her learning to accept herself for who she is and not be afraid to act like herself, because whenever she'd go out in public, she would be acting like her sister and all that kind of stuff. Another thing is that a lot of his books focus on how far is too far. So like with the government, how much could it reach into people's lives, like that it would change the way you look and the way you think and all that kind of stuff. And so it was like a really interesting concept. And another thing is that a lot of the characters have trust issues with either their friends or their significant others, and it's about them overcoming those fears and learning how to actually trust in themselves and their others. Marketing, he has a personal blog that he posts on a lot, and I was reading it and I found out that he got the coronavirus, which is very sad, but apparently he's recovered now, so that's good. One of his main things is that he does book trailers, and so they basically make them look like movies. That's what those little pictures in the corner have been. They've been little snapshots of that. He also has an Instagram where he like shares pictures of his personal life, and his Twitter, same concept as his Instagram. But most of the book covers, you can tell which ones are kind of marketed more towards boys and which ones are more marketed towards girls, because the boy books will have like gray and red and black on them, and then the girl books will be like white and have like a girl's face on them or something. Even though his books are pretty progressive. Like, he has a lot of LGBTQ characters in them, and it's great, and I love it. So yeah, but that's just how like his book covers are marketed. I don't know. They're book covers. They go through phases. Um so in conclusion, I really hate that. I don't know why I said it. I loved and I still love Scott Westerfeld, and I'm definitely going to be having these books in my classroom. They're really hard to put down. Like, I was blasting through them, even though they're pretty lengthy. Like, they're like 400, 500 pages. One of them was 600, but that one was like 2 books in one. But yeah, and so that's about